But before that, I'm going to do something I don't normally do, and that's well, the flat spot. It's got to be that one of these. No. Right, the time has come to put a smaller pulley on a supercharger and get more power out of the engine. But before I do that, before I hit the engine with more boost, I'm going to make sure that the tune is in tippy-top condition. So I'm going to be refining the map I've got there at the moment, and I'm going to show you how I do that. And then I'll probably be altering that map with less ignition timing and more fuel to cope with extra boost. So I'll show you how I do that as well. So what we're going to do now is sort the map out and the tuning which is on the bike. What I have done is I put some marks on my throttle there, look. It's a bit of a poor man's data logger, so that I've got a little bit of a sneeze on it and a little bit of a fat spot which I want to get rid of. So I need to know the throttle position of where it is. So what I can do is I can put Tune ECU on it, read my throttle position when it's at that mark there, so I know whereabouts it is. And then I can adjust it, the tune for it accordingly. And I've got my AFR gauge there, so I keep an eye on the AFR at the time it does it as well. So this is all stuff that can be done on the street, and it's more accurate sort of on the street than on a dyno because you've actually got the conditions of the road. Just noticed I need fuel, so I think it's actually using less fuel now. I've got this exhaust on it. Oh no, it's about the same. The pump didn't shut off, now I've got fuel everywhere. Let's slow down so we can stop at the lights. I hate it when that happens. Right, so now I've got my marks on my throttle. I know whereabouts it was when it does a flat spot every time. So what I can do now is I can connect Tune ECU to the bike, and it will show me on the map whereabouts my throttle is. So what I need to do, I've got a charger rigged up to it and my Anderson plug, which I just plug in quickly like that, which is better than messing about with a charging lead dangling around and flapping around and whatever like someone suggested I do. But this is good because I just walk up to the bike, go bosh like that. Right, turn the ignition on, got battery charger connected, hit ECU, connect. It's connecting, connected. Right, so now, if you can see that little, there are a couple of ways I can do this actually. What I can do is, I can actually list what sensors I want to measure, and I can read throttle position like that. So I can put it to where it's messing around, which is there, which is 8.2% throttle, which is where it's messing around. Or the other way of doing it, which is probably the way I'm going to do it, is when you're actually on your map, you see that there, that is where the throttle is. I don't know if that will work without the engine running. Yeah, it does. So you can see this is a percentage here. It's not actually at naught. I'm not really sure. That might change when the engine's running, but it's a percentage of throttle is at the top there. So if I put it to where it is, where it messes about, which is about there, it says about 7.1. It shows you where it is on the actual map. So I know that the problem I've got is in this area here, and I know it's between about 2000 RPM and about 3000, so I know it's in this little area here. So this is the area I can concentrate on what I need to modify. So this is actually a fuel table. I can do this with the ignition table as well. It'll be the same thing. So I know my problem is about here. It might even be a timing issue, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to alter the fueling first and see what happens. With actual aftermarket ECUs, you can adjust all this while the engine's running and stuff as well, but I have to actually adjust it on the computer, tablet, whatever, and then flash it onto the bike, which is a pain in the bum. But it's quite good though, because you can actually adjust all your maps and stuff while you're not with the bike. So now I can take my map onto the bench or somewhere more comfortable and work on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give it a little bit more fuel in that area and see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that with the fuel trim table. So I'm going to hit table, modify, and where were we? I reckon I'm going to go in the cells 7.1 to 9.5%, from about 2000 to 29, I reckon. So where are we? So I hold my finger on that one and I can drag it and highlight them there, and I'm going to give that about 10% more. So I hit tick, and now if I hit map and apply trims, and that little tick box there where it says F trim global, that will apply it to all cylinders. So I'm going to do that. So apply trims. So now that map has been modified. It's a little bit richer in that area. But what I do like to do, which I didn't do just then, is, let's do that again, only I won't actually apply that. I'll just do it just so I can get a screenshot. So where was I? I went to there, didn't I? And there went up to 10. Yeah, and then if I get a screenshot, somehow like that, then that's how I know. I try and keep track of everything I do. That way, if it doesn't work, I know whereabouts I've done it, so I can undo it again. But I'm not going to apply that. If I just hit discard last change, yes, because I've already applied it. So now what I'll do is I'll save this map. The trick is on stuff like this is just to do one thing at a time, rather than, and one area at a time as well, rather than actually, oh, I'll put a bit more timing in and a bit more fuel, because you don't know what you've done to actually fix it if you do it like that. Right, ignition on. ECU connect. Connected, hit ECU, reprogram. I've actually got videos on how to do this already, like flashing the ECU, so I probably won't go into too much detail right now. So continue. Okay. And you can see the battery voltage there is pretty good because I've got the charger on it. So that's flashing onto the bike. It should take about 3 minutes. While I'm waiting for this, what I didn't mention before was that little highlighted cell which was moving like this for the throttle position. When the engine's running, that'll also move up and down with RPM, because you've got the RPM on the Y. Is that the Y-axis and that's the X? Anyway, the RPM's on that axis and the throttle position percentage is on that axis. So when you're actually using the throttle, you'll see it moving around the map in whatever position it's in. I like that sound. Reprogramming done. Okay. Turn ignition off. Blah blah blah. So now that's flashed onto the bike, and I'll try that on my way to work in the morning. So I'll just make sure it starts up. Which it does. So all good. There is another way you can do this. I've seen people do this in the past, and I did fiddle about it for a little while but couldn't really figure out how to do it, but I've worked that out now. So, and that is graphic mode. So if I hit table and click graphic mode there, that gives you this graph here, and this is a good way to get things smoothed out a little bit. So right about my throttle range here where I've got a problem, there's a little sort of peak there, so we're going to smooth that out a little bit. And the way to do that is, it's a bit difficult like this because it's too small, so I go like that, open it up a bit, or you can also hit table and there's a little zoom button there. Let's see, little zoom tick, you can zoom in like that. So where are we? So let's say for instance we want to get rid of that peak there and smooth that down a bit. What I do is hit table, modify, then I'll click on these lines each correspond to one of these RPM cells, I believe. So if I click an RPM cell, it will pick out that line. So I'm not sure that's the line I want. Let's click that again. Or click. So I'm learning this myself at the moment, and I may not be doing it right, so let me know if you know a better way. So I really want that sort of line there, so I think it's got to be that one of these. No. No, it's actually these lower RPMs what we hardly ever use, but for the purpose of the video we'll get rid of that little peak there. So I've selected that RPM range, and now I want to select the throttle position, which is this one here. And now there's a little dot opened up, so what I can do is I can hold that and I can actually drag that. See, I've dragged that down, that's actually smoothed that out a bit. So if I hit tick, now you can see that's smoothed out. Now let's find this other line, which is that one there, and that's still highlighted, so we'll drag that down a bit as well. Hit tick, and that one's gone. Now this other line, 300 RPM, which we don't even use, but we'll modify it for the video anyway. And there you can see that smoothed that out. So this is, I don't really know how well the ECU interpolates. That is it when you adjust it on the cells, like when you adjust these cells you can just highlight a certain few of them, but it will actually smooth it around it as well. I'm not sure how well the Triumph ECU does that, but going into this graphic mode it's a lot easier to see how smooth the map is. So that's a good way of doing that. So I'm going to mess about with that more and try it and let you know how I'll get on with that. Oh, and of course then once you've done that you save your map blah blah blah. Right, well, that's scuppered my plans, isn't it? Guess we're going to have a trailer day. But sun's coming out now, so it will hopefully clear up and dry up, and I can get the bike out and continue with that side of things. Right, so I flashed that map onto my bike now, and we're just going to see if that little flat spot's gone. I don't think it... Well, it was running lean in one spot when just on initial acceleration, I know that. But I don't think it's going to get rid of the sneeze. I reckon that might be something to do with the actual dump valve. Because it's from that sort of transition from closed throttle to just opening it. So I'm thinking there might be, with the throttle closed, there's vacuum there, which actually opens the dump valve. And then I initially touched the throttle to accelerate, and the dump valve's still open a little bit, so it might be that causing it. I haven't actually messed around with adjusting the dump valve yet, so what I'm going to do is I'll block it off with a screw, the vacuum pipe, and take it off the dump valve and see if that makes a difference. But I've got rid of the lean spot now, which I had. Well, it actually wasn't a lean spot. Well, the flat spot was actually a lot better then. I thought it was my tune, but I noticed I've still got the dump valve disconnected, so I'll put that back on again and try it again. See, this is why I say you should only do one thing at a time. Plus, it's a really good idea to have a notebook and write down everything you do as well at the time. That way, because it can get quite confusing. But we'll give that a go, see what happens. I'm going to adjust this dump valve now. It's under a little locking nut, and then I believe screwing it in makes it tighter, less responsive, which is really what I want, I believe. So let's see where it is first. Let's actually screw that nut right back there. Let's wind it all the way in. Half, one and a half, 2, 6. Locking nut's actually going to come off there, so that's probably as far as I want to go. So let's come out 3. So I've gone in 3. That'll be half. 1, 1.5, 2. Now let's come out 2. Let's make. I've gone in 4. When you do things a little bit at a time, it's hard to tell what difference it makes. So I've learned to actually go further than you really believe you need, and then come back. So that's in 4 turns. So I'll write that down in my book. And now I'll go out on the road with my tools with me as well, and just gradually adjust it if I need to. Also, the other thing is, when you're making videos about all this stuff, you've also got a record of what you've done, which is really quite helpful. This is quite a common scene at the moment. That's better. I can actually ride along slowly, a lot smoother now, like at 40 k's an hour. So I reckon it was, yeah, it was open a little bit. And I've noticed as well on my vacuum gauge, it drops a lot lower when I've got the throttle closed. So I think it was actually staying open a bit. Now let's go on the highway and see how well it opens. Not quite closing quick enough, actually. Because I can hear the fluttering, I'm going to open it up a little bit. Right. So let's unwind it a couple of turns. And then see what we got now. Nice. And now I just want to keep an eye on my AFR to make sure it's good. So at a rev range, I sort of do that from about 80 k's an hour to whatever in 6. A tiny bit of lean spot there, but not enough to worry about, I don't think, 'cause it's not boosted. It's a beautiful day to be doing this, actually, because it's winter now and it's probably, I don't know, about 22 degrees at the moment or something, so it's nice and cool, but you can still have the roof down on your car, look. Right, I've just made a map which has got retarded ignition timing and a little bit more fuel. I will show you that later, but I'm now going to flash that onto the bike, and I'm actually, while that's doing that, I'm going to put the small pulley on. But before that, I'm going to do something I don't normally do, and that's read the instructions, because I think it's, if I remember rightly, there's something pretty important I had to do when changing the pulley. Right, you won't have to wait too long for the next video, because I have got the pulley on, I have been riding it, I have been tuning it with it on, so you're only going to have to wait a day or two before the next video's out. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed, like, comment, all that good stuff, and of course, have a great day. You're right, J-Face.